It's funny how we think about loyalty. We imagine it's tested when things are going great, when you're on top of the world. But that's not really the test, is it? True loyalty, that gets tested in the moments of total collapse, when the floor just gives out from under you. And this story is about one of those moments, about a king who lost everything, and the last person you'd ever expect to stand by his side.
So, to set the stage here, let's look at a pretty common pattern in history. The trailblazing father, followed by the son who inherits the empire. You see it in ancient Korea, right? King Gwanggaeto, the great conqueror, and then his son, King Jongsu, who presided over this incredible golden age. But for our story, we're going to focus on ancient Israel, with King David and his son, King Solomon. These two oversaw the greatest expansion their nation had ever seen. They built a real legacy.
But that brings up a really interesting question. If you could press a button and transport yourself back to live in one of those golden ages, which one would you pick? Would you choose the exciting, empire-building era of the father, or the peaceful, prosperous, and stable time of the son?
Let's be honest. Looking at David and Solomon, we tend to romanticize David's life. Is this dramatic, larger-than-life figure? But living under his rule, it was one conflict after another, constant rebellions. Solomon's reign, on the other hand, well, that was an era of just unprecedented peace, stability, and wealth. So for the average person just trying to raise a family and live a good life, Solomon's kingdom was, without a doubt, the much safer bet. David's time, just way too chaotic.
And that chaos, it really hit its peak with the biggest, most painful rebellion David ever had to face. And this wasn't from some foreign power or a rival general. No, this one came from inside his own house, and it was orchestrated by his own son, Absalom.
What's just wild is how patient and calculating Absalom was. This wasn't some hot-headed coup. This was a cold, 4-year plot to steal a kingdom. First, he projects power, right? He gets himself a flashy chariot and 50 guards, making himself look like a king. Then, he starts hanging out at the city gate, intercepting people on their way to see his father. He'd tell them, "Oh, the king's too busy for you. He doesn't have anyone to hear your case." And after sowing that dissatisfaction, he'd deliver the punchline, "If only I were the judge, I'd give you justice." And just like that, step by step, he literally stole the hearts of the people.
So when the rebellion finally kicks off, David's reaction is, well, it's just stunning. You'd think the legendary warrior, the guy who took down Goliath, would call his armies, right? Prepare for a fight? Nope. He gives one order. We have to flee. He decides to abandon his own throne, his own palace, just to spare the city and its people the horror of a bloody civil war.
And just like that, the king is on the run. Can you even picture it? The most powerful man in the nation, now a fugitive, walking out of his city, barefoot and crying, heading into the wilderness with absolutely nothing left. And in a moment like that, a moment of total crisis, the real question is, who's still with you?
As David and his few remaining followers escape, there's this one group that hangs back, bringing up the rear of this sad little procession. A group of 600 men. But who were they? Now, here's the twist. These guys weren't David's relatives. They weren't his elite Israelite guards. They were foreign soldiers, mercenaries. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. These 600 men were Gittites. That means they were professional soldiers from the Philistine city of Gath. And yes, I mean that Gath, the hometown of Goliath, the giant that David became famous for killing. The irony is just staggering. David's own son is trying to murder him, while men from the hometown of his greatest enemy are risking their lives to protect him. So as they reach the edge of the wilderness, the point of no return, David stops. He turns to the leader of these foreign soldiers, a man named Ittai the Gittite, and the two of them have this incredible conversation.
David, even at his absolute lowest point, shows this amazing character. He basically tells Ittai, look, why are you doing this? You're a foreigner. You're an exile yourself. You literally just got here. You owe me nothing. Go back to the city, pledge allegiance to the new king, Absalom, and keep yourself and your men safe. He gives him a total out. He releases him from any and all obligation.
But Ittai's response, wow. He refuses to leave. He makes this incredible oath right then and there. He says, "As surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, wherever my king is, whether it means death or life, that is where I will be." It's just this breathtaking, unconditional vow of loyalty to a king who has nothing left to offer.
Ittai's choice in that moment, standing at the edge of the wilderness, it reveals something so deep about loyalty, about betrayal,
and about hope. A lesson that goes way beyond just this one ancient story.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the deepest, most painful betrayals often come from the people you trust the most, like your own son. But in those exact same moments of darkness, the most profound, unshakable loyalty can come from the places you'd never, ever expect, like a former enemy. When you're in that moment of total collapse, help often shows up from a source you never could have seen coming.
And that really makes you think about your own life, doesn't it? Think back to your hardest times, your own personal wilderness. Who showed up for you when you least expected it? Who was your unexpected Ittai?
And that leaves us with one last really challenging question. It's one thing to have an Ittai show up for you, but it's another thing entirely to be that person for someone else. In a world where allegiances are always shifting, when you see someone else facing their own crisis, whose Ittai will you be?